For part 2 of my 2009 NBA Finals preview, I'll be talking about the advantages the Los Angeles Lakers have in this series. Various reasons why they might be the winners here. We have position advantages, coaching advantages, circumstance advantages. Anything and everything is in play here as I discuss reasons why the Lakers might win the championship. I feel like it's logical to start at shooting guard because the Lakers host an advantage here that is simply unparalleled and you really couldn't even calculate it. While the Orlando Magic well trot out promising young rookie Courtney Lee, a good jump shooter and a good defender in his first year in the NBA, and while they do have Michael Petrus backing him up, an adequate defender who also shoots the corner three very well, the Lakers trot out one of the top 3 players in the game right now in Kobe Bryant. His numbers are staggering, off the charts, and he alone could very well double the scoring output of Courtney Lee and Michael Petrus combined. But when you throw in Sasha Vujacic, who has not had the best year admittedly, you have to concede that the shooting guard position is owned by the Lakers in this matchup. We could bring J.J. Redick into this matchup, but I don't see him playing more than 10 total minutes in this series. So when you look at the top 2, because that's really what's relevant here, Lee and Petrus versus Kobe and Vujacic, there is no competition. And if you don't buy that based on the regular season, Kobe's been even better this postseason. It is also worth noting that the Lakers do not mind trotting out either of their 2 small forwards. Obviously, they seem to like Trevor Ariza a lot more, and who can blame him? He's a much better player. That being said, they do have a backup who gets minutes, does play in the playoffs, and does find his own ways to contribute. So in between the combo of Trevor Ariza, an excellent defender, a good finisher, and an up-and-coming three-point shooter, plus Luke Walton, a good passer, good all-around skills guy, I think the overall small forward position advantage does go to the Los Angeles Lakers. I give Rashard Lewis some credit here. He's played a good season. He's played a good postseason. He's been what this team had hoped, as much as they could hope. But he's just not as good as Pau Gasol, and Pau Gasol will be starting for the Lakers, so we give them the advantage here. Pau Gasol, the eternal 2010 machine, who has played well in these playoffs as well, and seems to never have a bad game, always finding ways to have an influence. Not only is there the advantage here, which I think is fairly obvious, the Magic's backup power forward is Tony Battie, who really doesn't see all that many minutes. They're more content with playing a small lineup rather than play Tony Battie at this point, it would seem. Lakers' third best player and unquestioned 6th man is the backup power forward, Lamar Odom. So can there be any doubt that the Lakers dominate at this position head-to-head? And don't forget, the Lakers also have Josh Powell, who probably won't play at all in this series. But if he does, I think you could do worse as far as third-string power forwards go. It's worth noting, I don't think he's much better or worse than Tony Battie. So, in one of the most definitive areas you could ever find, the Lakers dominate the power forward battle, hands down. Piece by piece, I did talk about this already, but I feel it warrants its own little category. The Lakers bench appears to be much better than the Magic bench. For starters, the Lakers' 6th man is Lamar Odom. He plays big minutes, bigger minutes than some starters on this team in fact, and is a consistent double-double threat, 5-tool skilled, and can do so many different things for this Laker team. I would certainly take him over the Magic's 6th man, Michael Petrus, who is a good player. He's good to knock down threes and give you, 12, 11 points a game, and play very well. He's not a bad player by any means. But I do not doubt that Lamar Odom is a better player. And as you continue to move down the Magic depth chart, you have Marcin Gortat, who only plays because Dwight Howard gets tired and or in foul trouble from time to time. He brings nothing to the table that Dwight doesn't, and I don't believe they would play him if theoretically Dwight Howard had infinite stamina. He just doesn't bring anything special to the table. He's a good backup. He gets out there and plays adequately. I don't think he's anything special, though. And you have Anthony Johnson. Aging backup point guard. Every now and then he does make a play. You got to give him credit for that. But at the same time, I feel like the only reason he goes out there is because, well, Rafer Alston, while not being a great player in and of himself, does get tired and or in foul trouble from time to time. Everyone else on this Magic roster, with the potential exception of J.J. Redick, just doesn't get playing time in this finals, or at least they shouldn't. They're just not up to par. The Lakers, meanwhile, can trot out Vujacic, who will play some minutes in this series, I'm sure. Luke Walton, who will probably play some minutes in this series as well. Jordan Farmar and Shannon Brown. It's possible only one of them is going to get any kind of minutes, probably Shannon Brown, but I would not be surprised if Farmar did trot out there. And again, even Josh Powell. I wouldn't mind seeing him tossed out there. So that's considerably deeper and better. It's a nice advantage to have because last year in the finals, the Lakers didn't seem to have it. Phil Jackson versus Stan Van Gundy. I give Van Gundy credit. He coached brilliantly in the Cleveland series and really, really outcoached Mike Brown, the coach of the year. But let's not overreact here. Let's not panic, as Shaq might put it. Phil Jackson has won 9 championships. He consistently coaches elite teams and always seems to find a way to get back on top. It's been 7 years for him now, but it looks like he might get back on top this year. So there can be little doubt that ultimately Phil Jackson is the better coach in this series, more well-prepared, just plain all-around better. And this could be an advantage that LA exploits throughout this series. Of course, last year, it did seem like the Lakers had that coaching advantage as well. And we all saw how that went. And now we get to really the number one reason why I think the Lakers stand a good chance to win these finals. Dwight Howard is the defensive player of the year. He's an excellent down-low defender. It's very tough to score against him. He gets a lot of blocks. He drives people out of the lane just by being there. It's tough to come across a more feared presence in this league than Dwight Howard. But Dwight Howard's only one man, and one man can only guard one person at a time anyway. Looking at this series, however, you might have to see Dwight Howard guard 2 people at once if he's going to handle the Lakers down low. The Lakers boast down low depth. They have Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, and Lamar Odom, all of whom can bang bodies down low. The Magic, other than Dwight Howard, have the tendency to play from the perimeter, and that includes their power forward, Rashard Lewis. So, let's say Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom are hitting their mid-range jumpers and outside shots. You can't really ask Dwight Howard to come out and defend them because he's not much of a perimeter defender, and do not even try and get him to defend the three-point line. It just does not make any sense. Takes the defense out of their element. So you put him on Andrew Bynum, and it's fine. I don't doubt that Howard's going to outplay Andrew Bynum and probably shut him down on both ends of the court. But if he is occupied with Bynum and Gasol comes banging down low, what then? Does he switch onto Gasol and have to put up with his multitude of offensive moves? And what happens to Bynum if Howard's guarding Gasol? Is he going to be covered by Rashard Lewis, who is known to be a poor defender? Or anyone else on this team, none of whom are known to be good down-low defenders? The 2 best defenders on this team other than Howard are probably Courtney Lee and Michael Beatrice. So, how are you going to do it? And what happens if Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom are on the court at the same time? Howard defends one, but who defends the other? If it's Rashard Lewis, good luck. If it's anyone else, maybe even more good luck to you, because how is that going to work? The Lakers don't even necessarily need Bynum to play well in this series to exploit this mismatch. But if Bynum does, they'll be able to constantly, at all times during these games, throw out two big men that can score to be defended by one big man. One of these guys will find themselves matched up against the likes of Rashard Lewis. And if they can exploit that, that should be good for many, many baskets in this game. And that's the one real big advantage I see the Lakers exploiting in this series. And that is what the Lakers bring to the table here as they try and trump the Magic in these finals. Coming up next, I'll talk about advantages the Magic have and why they might win this series.